let's see here. Turn that off. All right, here we go. First ever. What the heck? First of all, before we do anything, can you hear us? It turns out this is really hard. I also think I figured out why Alex can hear himself.
Yeah, this is a first, right? This is what it's all about.
Yeah, great, cool. And you can see us both, I'm guessing. Man, there's some
Yeah, Forrestine has
interesting going on.
given us the green light on YouTube chat, which is
All right,
very,
cool, great.
very confidence inspiring.
Great. That makes me happy. All right. Yeah. Well, I wanted to like just hang out and talk about modular and synths and stuff and make it a weekly thing. So, um, why not? Got Alex here who just got some sick gear. Actually, do you want to do an intro? Like, I don't, should we introduce
Well, yeah,
ourselves or should we
we
just
can do a
assume
quick
people?
intro and then we
Yeah.
can slip into what the heck is this, right? And why. So, quick intro for uh, those tuning in for the first time or um, randomly stumbled across this because YouTube recommended it or whatever. It's like, so we are members of Earth Modular Society. My name is Alex Barnett. I perform on EMS under that very same name, Alex Barnett. Um, and, you know, the, as you can hear, I've got an English accent, but I live in California. Been living in the States for nearly 20 years. And so one of my passions is music, and more recently, modular, specifically Eurorack. And Earth Modular Society was this place that I just, through the randomness of the internet, landed on in its early formulation and have leaned in, and I've been enjoying this community. And so that's who I am in the context of EMS.
Yeah, I'm Heckseven. I also fell into this um, delightful little community. I think through, I want to say through like the DIY channel of the Magpie Pirates Discord or something like that.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know Discord. It's really the Wild West there.
That one's, yeah, I can't load that up for very long without needing a break. It's great. It's just like overload for me. Um, but yeah, that's how I found it. I mean, I just recently got into modular this year. Thanks lockdown for that. Um, but I have been playing and slowly building synth collections and all that stuff beyond that. So this has kind of been a fun outlet to sort of uh,
That's
learn how to
that's really
stream and
cool.
all
And
that.
I'm
Yeah.
just like giving a quick heads up to the people who are
Yeah.
tuning in and saying hello. So obviously we've got Forestine. We have Frederick Foxtrot. Great name.
Yeah.
Even if it's not real, it's a perfectly good name.
That's like one of those made up names of like, I don't know, I would imagine a detectorist, like a metal detector person
Yeah, it's a good
on a
name. It's a
TV
good
show.
name. It's
Like,
like it's a
it's
good one.
rad. Or it would be a sick like call sign or something. Frederick Foxtrot.
And
Double
then
F.
and then Hex 7, you play under Hex 7, you perform under Hex 7, at least on the EMS. Just a quick, tell us a little bit more about that journey, Hex 7, because each of our experiences when we have showed up on EMS is different, and all the rest of it. But like, give the quick, more than, hey, this is how I discovered it. Like, what have you been doing with EMS and why do you like it?
Good question. When I joined, it was very new. I think there weren't very many members, which gave me the boldness to be like, I bet I could stream and no one would complain. and and like there still is lots of really cool experimental stuff, really interesting, like a wide, huge range of what we get from like almost like noise performances. I don't know what the actual genre is, to like really heavy stuff, to really light, delightful things, to more abstract. Like it's just a huge range. So that gave me the courage to open up OBS for the first time, plug in a key, and stream probably the gnarliest heavy metal I've ever streamed because I didn't know how to fix clipping at the time. So it's just like everyone was like, "Yeah, this is sick! Oh, this is so heavy!" And they're like, "How did you get that bass?" Well, the trick to get that bass is to have a regular sounding bass synth and then blow it well past that 0 decibel thing on the meter. Blow it into the red, and you get the most metal sound ever. So I don't recommend doing that because when I listened to it, I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is."
yeah.
I
A
was
fun
listening to a
story.
Bellows song anyway, and then I learned from there. So it's been a great way to learn and progress. I guess it's been cool to progress, to see how people do things as they're some of the best I think streams have been either unplanned or like walkthroughs of setups or a particular sound and that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
been super
Well, I
helpful
mean,
for
I think
me.
that's a really like a point worth just spending maybe a little bit of time on, because it's the same for me in that, here I am through COVID and, spending time on a passion that I have, which is music and all the rest of it. And the question is like, well, how do you reconnect back to society on the one hand while you're kind of, feeling isolated in your own passionate art form and the rest of it? And how do you make a connection? And I think for me, EMS has been an important point about what you said. It isn't just about me performing. On the contrary, like 10% of my side of things is that. The other 90%, the vast majority of it, is exactly what you said. Just hearing other artists, experimenters, twiddlers, etc. Just play in an environment where there are really no expectations. Just play and see how it goes. And I think that's uh, interestingly cool and unique and very attractive for me personally.
Yeah, that's a huge part of why I like to keep doing it. Is I know there's always going to be someone there to sort of hang with. Like if I'm feeling some music, I don't need to give notice. I can just hit the stream button, and like Florestine or Schmooster, whoever happens to be on, will pop on, give me some
Yeah,
comments, peace out if they have to go do something else. Um, but
yeah.
it's great. It's like hang in. Um, yeah, it's been really helpful through this.
Well, and then to that point, so like here we are, we have commonality around, at least on those things, like our appreciation for what EMS is and this fun, cool little environment and playpen to dust around in. So let's then get to like, what is this?
Yeah. So this is partly me seeing that hangout. Like I don't know. I've seen some other podcasts and things here and there that sort of feel like like a group of folks hanging out. And like Alex a few weeks ago, like I think Forrestine, you were there. There was that Tito's night. That was a blast. Like I had a lot of fun. We were like uh, backseat driving Alex's set. So I figured we could do something a little more like that, a little more conversational. Um,
Hmm.
we can play on synths for an hour, or we can like talk about some new gear, which is always fun. Like, I know I love seeing all the cool stuff, and like half the time y'all are talking about new gear, I've never heard of it. Like the local florist, I can't tell you how long I thought that conversation was actually about a florist. I was like, that's a weird thing to be excited about, but cool. I love your passion. So like, I love that side of things. Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
sort of what this is about. Like, not necessarily a gear review channel, just like kicking it. So um, have random people on each week, pseudo
Yeah,
random.
and I think kind of well within the realms and the, you know, like the intent is to kind of like waddle in and spend a little time in the lake of this passion that we have in a different way. Um, and look, if somebody wants to come along and they want to like blast music and take over EMS, have at it. That's what this channel is about. In the meantime, there's a little bit of dead air. It's like, hey, why don't we fill it with just a little different type of content, but still well within the realm of the passion that this community cares about.
That's what I'm feeling. Like, I don't want to take away from music time. Uh, like I I love like music time's the best, especially on like weekends. If no one's around, I'll do a build stream if I'm building something. But
Yeah,
it's
those are
much more
cool.
fun for me if
No, man, that's a really, really cool thing, actually. Like outside of EMS, even like for me to even poke into a live stream of somebody building a DIY Eurorack, like all the soldering that you're doing, it's like, fuck yeah, I'll watch that for a little bit. I'm learning, I'm curious. Like, how does that even work? Like, it's really like daunting for somebody like me that, if you ask me like to put together a table from IKEA, I'd like flip. I'd have to like think about it for like 3 weeks,
I will say
contemplate
IKEA
it,
tables are
then
harder than
probably get the
soldering.
manual a week before and study the hell out of it to make sure that I don't kill myself at the end of failing to put together an IKEA table.
That All right, that makes me want to talk about what type of person you are. Are you a read the manual before you get your synth person, or are you just leave it
Read the
alone? Like,
manual.
don't even
Yeah,
look
read
at
the
it
manual
until you
beforehand.
get.
Totally. Like
Yeah,
everything's on PDF. Like these days, all the manufacturers has got the link. I will read the manual and try and avoid that horrible feeling that you get when you get any product. It doesn't even have to be musical, where you feel disappointed by it because you don't understand it.
right,
And
right.
so
You
my
get frustrated.
mitigation to that risk is read the fucking manual.
See, I'm the opposite for different but similar reasons. Like, I don't read the manual on purpose. Uh, for my career, I design things, so I sort of
Mm,
I rather enjoy the experience of taking this new thing
mm,
and plugging it in and just seeing what I can do,
yeah,
until I get frustrated because there's something preventing me from doing what I expect, right? Like, and I note that down, and then I go back and I do read the manual. Like the score pyramid's a great example of something that when I first got, I just played around with it. I struggled. Like finally, I got it to do like some sequences and things like a Novation circuit or something. Like that part of it was
yeah.
pretty trivial, but any deeper was super daunting. But I've been through that manual, and it's not presented like it, but it's a book. There is some depth in that little monster. So I will go through and read things pretty in depth about the stuff I own, but I
No, but I
usually wait until
appreciate I
after.
appreciate what you're getting at though. Like, um, look, you said you design products. We've never actually talked about what products you design. I've just learned that you are involved in any design of products just now. So like, it's a real time conversation. But like, I appreciate what you're getting at, which is, man, there has to be some designer behind this product.
Right.
And how much have they thought about that first use user experience? Like it's there, it's intuitive. You just get it, and then you can spend time exploring the nuances and stuff. And I appreciate that. I just I've had enough bad experiences to go like, okay, that's good. Maybe in other kinds of products, not modular. Modular, like I
Oof.
value
Yeah.
that time so dearly that like I just want to like get super productive. And it's not to say that yours is where it's just like that's my mindset going in.
Well, I have to backtrack when it comes to modular. Like, all the modules I built, like I obviously had to read something about them before I built them. So
Oh, when you're
I know how
DIYing,
they
okay.
work.
No, no,
Like
totally. I mean, that's like, I got that one. Yeah.
there's still some mysteries, like how to sync up some of the stuff is.
Dude,
Anyway,
it's like voodoo for me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how, like, it's voodoo. And I know at the end of the day, it's like when you really boil down to it, it's just like circuitry and bits of electricity passing. Like, you just keep going down the fucking rabbit hole of like deconstructing music down to literally the circuitry. Like, I totally appreciate why that's attractive. I get it totally. Um,
yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't know as much as you expect. Like if you ask me what an op amp does, which is a pretty critical component in just about every module,
yeah.
uh, I could give you like a high level uh, basic idea of it, like it just amplifies or inverts signals is generally the thing about it. But how to actually properly use it or like design a circuit from scratch is still something I haven't tried. It's something that's maybe on my to-do list because I'm thinking about the next two modules I build of my own design. Those
Mm.
might, I think I might go a little more complex with them for safety of other module purposes. Like I don't want to blow up my other modules with these, and just to like learn a little bit more. But that's like several weekends away in terms of desire to do it.
So, outside of the context of this conversation, have you soldered stuff before? Is that like a skill that you picked up elsewhere and now applying it in a different way, or is that that was brand new for you when you pursued this journey?
Yeah, so I had soldered quite a few things before. Trying to think of how it started. Um, I would say the most significant soldering happened because of my current partner. She she sort of got me into some of this stuff. She's really into like security. So at some point, I went to a security conference called DEF CON, which is like a hacker party.
Yeah, I know DevCon. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I've been a few times, but before DEF CON, like we got like some solder kits and things, and I built a few things. I got really excited about. Uh, at DEF CON, they had these badges, which I'll have to. Actually, I have one over here. The laser theremin is actually a badge, like a DEF CON. Let me get this closer to the camera.
yeah. Okay.
So it's just the
What the
tape
fuck? That's a
cassette bit of it.
furry attached to a what?
There's a Furby here, yeah, but these are
Who's a
just
Furby?
SAO's shitty add-ons. Is the name of them? They're. It's got a spec. Anyway, you would get something like this. Sometimes pre-ordered, or you build them there. And this isn't the first one I soldered, but there was one called Darknet, which is sort of this competition where you're going through all sorts of like hackery skills, like some basic
Oh,
cryptography. It's designed to
interesting.
learn, and it does get more and more advanced
Very
as
cool.
you go. But those badges are like these crazy, like futuristic things, and I got super stoked when Kia had one of those. So I learned to solder beforehand, and it doesn't take that long. I think
Well, that's
a
cool,
module
man.
is not.
That's
Yeah,
man. That's just like good event design.
it is
you
like
know,
it's a
really,
competition
that's
that you
awesome.
learn. Like it's the
Totally.
coolest.
Love that. Love that. So that was your way in. That was your first soldering experience. Did I pick that up roughly?
That was I just don't remember my first, but it was around that time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think I built. Hold on a second. I'm gonna try not to pull my laptop over and getting this thing. If it's still here. It is. Yeah, here we go. All right, so this is actually one of the first things I soldered, and it's this. It's an oscilloscope. It's like the $20, $30 DIY. Get it on AliExpress, Amazon, wherever. Anyway,
Okay.
don't recommend this as the first one because it comes in a baggie with all of the parts unlabeled, which means all of these little tiny blue resistors are.
See, this is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, man. Like, this is my IKEA table assembly nightmare. Is like that's what fears me. Okay, when you built it and did you get it to work eventually?
First try.
Nice. And what's it look like? Is it actually pretty decent?
It's pretty
Like when
good. I'll
it's
have to
running?
show it another time because I don't feel like
Yeah, not
digging
now,
for
but like
adapters
just
right now. But
does
it
it?
does work pretty good.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not.
okay, that's pretty cool.
It's not
20
like the one I
bucks?
have
Holy
plugged in
shit.
over here. Like it's not
Yeah.
as lively or pretty in terms of aesthetics, but it works pretty
Yeah.
good. It's not like a you wouldn't want to use it for professional applications, like trying to get
Right,
exact
right, right.
specific
But
reasons,
it's
but it'll
as
get you in
like
the neighborhood.
as a as a budget way in of getting like what is actually a really, really helpful utility. That's pretty sweet.
And yeah, now that I know a little more, let me do a quick look at it. It takes DC 9 volt, so all I would need to do is mount this to a panel, and inside my top case, in the back, I made a bus board that converts from 12 to 9 volt. So if I make more like pedal modules or something, like it could power this. So I could make a quick module out of it if I wanted to, like just bolt it onto.
That's so cool. So for anybody that happened to be randomly tuning into this segment, what is that product?
That is the. Ooh, let me read the name. It's like
Yeah.
128. DSO 138 digital oscilloscope. So the DSO 138, and again, I don't recommend it as a first soldering project.
Right.
Like there's a lot of other really simple ones. In fact, I would almost recommend any Cosmo modules, maybe some Eurorack modules, but Eurorack tends to have a lot of surface mount components, which are difficult
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. I mean,
those are so small.
yeah. The most adventurous I've got uh, is swapping a silver panel for a black panel, and that was on the WMD performance mixer.
Okay, all right.
So before I ordered it, I read through the instructions, I watched the YouTube videos, and I went like, I really asked myself, can I fucking do this? Can I really fuck this up? Because
That's a
that's
logical
expensive shit to
question,
fuck
right?
up.
Like I do the same thing, and if I hadn't built all these at this point, like now it's trivial to me to switch panels and things like that. But before that, I didn't know how knobs were attached, or if I'd break something, or if they were glued on, or if
Yeah.
I even could swap the panel. Like that's not even something that would occur to me to
Yeah,
try.
so the swap in the panel is a good one because it's screws. I can handle screws, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like just about.
Yep.
And then there are a couple of fiddly bits that I got a little bit frustrated with, but I wouldn't consider that to be a DIY, but it was like it was my first little version of like, oh, I could really fuck this up. Like I was scared. Halfway through, I went, oh my God, I think I fucked this up. And I am now without my mixer for the next 2 weeks as I send it back.
Right. I mean, I do think anybody. It's awesome to learn to solder. I think picking up Cosmo modules or something like that that's a little bigger that uses larger like normal resistors and things is something anyone should do. Like Sam says on Look Mom No Computer. Like don't be scared to try it.
Yeah.
I think Needless Mustard has started building some things, and like it's totally doable. Like it's almost paint by numbers to an extent where you're just sort of following a guide.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing you should be scared of is like what's going to happen to your wallet when you start doing it. It's not
Yeah.
exactly inexpensive. Like it's
All
low
of
up
that.
front. Like you can get away with a crappy soldering iron for like $20 or something.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
not too.
so now your rig, as I, watch you and listen to you many times and really enjoyed them on streams or here on EMS or whether it's part of another thing going on, is my confusion around the format of things that look modular but they're not Eurorack spec. And this is still a function of me still learning about this whole area. And of course, before Eurorack got standardized, whenever it was 10, 12, something plus years ago, like modular used to come in different specs, and you've got like what looks like a combination of modern, not modern, the wrong word, but like the Eurorack standard plus the other
Yeah, so
standard.
let me walk through that real quick because I can see how it looks confusing, but all of this stuff, with maybe this as the exception, like all Cosmo modules are Eurorack essentially. They're just a larger format of Eurorack, so they play well with Eurorack. They're using Eurorack power supplies. All the voltages and things are designed for Eurorack interplay. So it essentially is just large Eurorack.
So Cosmo, you said Cosmo?
Yeah.
So that's a standard, not a manufacturer or a brand.
No, it's not a manufacturer or a brand. I guess the closest thing to it would be sort of like Look Mom, the
Is
computer's
Eurorack.
brand, but everyone, I mean, the folks that have been building it just call it Cosmo spec, and it's essentially just the size. The
Yeah.
closest thing to a spec is the size, and it's starting to get more consistent around location of the screw holes, like where you can mount them.
Okay.
Like if you look at
Like from
uh,
a vertical standpoint
well, just the
versus
location. Yeah,
horizontal.
right, exactly. Just from a vertical standpoint, like this
Yeah,
filter
yeah.
here will be
You
there
need
forever.
rails.
Right, because the screws are actually slightly down, further down than others, so I couldn't exactly swap it out easily or put it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like if I had metal rails, that one wouldn't go in. But everything newer than that, I think maybe one or two exceptions. If I got vector rails, would fit right in. So
Yeah, and that Cosmo standard, let's say, even though it's got some pretty important elements of the specification relatively undefined, is a spec. So like the unit height is consistent, but
yeah,
obviously the width is the equivalent of like HP and Eurorack.
and let me tell you, it's a glorious standard. They're 20 centimeters high, and tend to be multiples of 5 or 10 wide. Um, with a few exceptions, like the ones I just built last weekend uh, are 2.5 centimeters. I don't know if you hear me. 2.5 centimeters wide. So these were really exciting because they're
Mm,
essentially some of the like very few utility modules you can get already in a PCB, Cosmo size, and they're very very small footprints. And it was actually my first attempt at playing with a bus cable with these. I don't know if I love a bus cable, but I've
right,
got
right,
10 of
right.
them, so I don't know if I want to make a huge bus board or what. So we'll figure it out.
But I think from an aesthetic standpoint, I can see the attraction of the Cosmo standard in the sense that like everything you've got room for lots of big, juicy, hands-on buttons. Like that feels like like probably the most prominent practical feature for why you would go for that size and form factor versus something smaller where real estate is a real prime.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Frederick, it's like metric 5U, I think, if you're gonna go in that terms. But yeah, it's like the best way I can explain it is I love being able to play with the knobs and switches. They're all very big.
Yeah,
When I go
yeah,
to use the Eurorack modules, it's not that they're bad, it's that the knobs are very small. So like a good
yeah.
experiment
Right,
would
right,
be
right,
to
right.
like turn a knob on your stove or something like that's really big. It feels very frictionless, and you have a lot of hand movement with that. Versus if you have just a bare potentiometer and you try to move it,
Yeah, yeah,
it takes a lot of torque. Like you have to grip it a lot harder. So there's that difference where these sort of feel like moving sludge a little bit. These are a lot
yeah.
freer, and you can get a little more precise with the larger um, knobs, just because it's larger
Definitely.
diameter. But that's
I
not
mean,
the main
look, the
reason.
reality is that one of most people's favorite things to do, whether it's Eurorack synthesis, um, or kind of like microfreak sitting there, or like an MS-20 version of that, is like being able to turn a big juicy knob called a filter and for it to go wow.
Oh my
You know,
gosh,
like
yeah.
that's what we love doing. I mean, I speak for myself for sure, but I like, oh, that tactile relationship to sound is what it's about.
It is, and you know, like when I first got into synthesizers, I think I started with just apps, like apps on my iPad, and not very good ones. Some of them were okay, like the Core Gadget I think is really good, but that sort of got me a taste. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get a synthesizer. So I got the Roland SEO2, and I already had a MIDI keyboard, but figuring out how to get those two to talk was not easy because the MIDI keyboard I had was it's the Akai, what is that, like the
MIDI
$100
keyboard,
red and black one. Yeah, it's a keyboard with a little joystick. Anyway,
like a M something, a Kai
yeah, it's an
M.
M something. I still have it. It's upstairs. It's wonderful,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's USB, not like actual MIDI. So that was
Yeah.
tricky to figure out. But like I learned very quickly that it's just like the thing I like the most, even more so than making cool tracks, which is great, is just like spending an hour futzing with sound
Yeah,
design.
I
Like
think
just
that's
like
and
hearing it.
that tactile relationship, like
Yeah.
with the music making process, is it's so much fun.
And then I think the next thing I got, uh, well, the next two things, I got this little dude, the Monotron delay, which I still want to hook up into. Actually, what am I doing? Can't remember the
Monotron
switch.
delay. There we go. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the Monotron delay, which has the like MS-20 filter in it, doesn't have peak or resonance, though that's something you could hack it with. And right now,
Oh,
I don't have it plugged in because I don't use it that often. It has a super gritty delay,
so
and
that's just
it's
like a send return FX
well,
pedal
it's its
slash
own little
unit.
synthesizer. It's a full analog synthesizer in here.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have any like MIDI input or CV or anything like that. Just this little keyboard, and it can make all sorts of spacey sounds. It's amazing. But the
Okay.
best feature of it is that you can put external inputs through it, and it processes them. So I'm thinking of making a module out of
Okay.
this
So you
one.
can use it as a send return FX
Right,
delay.
right. So I went from like
Nice.
pretty small SEO2 to very small, and then I got the Korg MS-10 on eBay, pseudo broken. Um, and
Did you
man,
fix it?
when I got it working, like it was just a couple of broken potentiometers.
So that's awesome, man. You get a good deal there, right?
But when I did that first filter sweep, man, I realized I liked bigger
Huh.
formats a little better. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a
um,
great sound.
yeah, it's still like there's a reason it's in the center. It's my favorite go-to monster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a friend who owned, I think it was like a 1980s version of it. Um, I'm spacing out on it, but it was like, I think it was like a V2 or V3 of
Was
the
it like the
original.
MS-2000 or something like that? Like a sort of a flat panel?
No, it was similar. No, 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 similar to your form factor, but it was
Oh,
like one of the
MS-20.
very early ones.
Oh yeah, it's probably an MS-20, so probably dual oscillator, very similar to what I have.
Yeah, and but it was like a V2 or V3
Yeah,
issue,
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day, and it was his pride and joy. And then he got rid of it like 3 weeks ago, just because he felt he needed to move on his journey, which I think he'll regret.
Respect,
Um,
like that takes.
but he moved
But
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have my eye on some things. Like I think if I, like, I'd love an MS-20. I don't have any room for it anywhere. Like the floor in here is slanted, so I can't like make the usual like U pattern synth tower cave thing.
Yeah.
Um, but if I did get one, I'd probably save up and get the like that reissue they have out right now.
Oh
Just
yeah, the new
because
reissue.
I
Yeah,
don't love
yeah, yeah.
futzing with broken components that much. I'd rather
Fucking,
just
I
play
love
it.
that, man. I love that. Just come out with some old classics and come out with it again,
Oh my
and get in a
gosh.
whole new generation.
If they
Like
came out with an
getting to love
MS-10 that
that
sounded
sound.
this
It's so
good, I'd
cool.
sell this one and buy that one. I'm
Yeah.
tired. Like, I don't love the troubleshooting side of it, and so getting a new one would just increase reliability. Anyway, that's my stuff. Yeah, I will say that looping back to the Cosmo format, uh, this is like a really small Euro rack setup, basically, because the panels are so big. There's not a lot there. Like I would say, if I made I don't know, like the Metron, right? That
Yeah.
Weapons of Mass Destruction Metron. If that was Cosmo size, it would be like the whole front of this, right? Like
Actually,
everything's
can you
bigger.
do you have a camera angle that can give us a little context on scale
Yeah, let me
on that rack? That'll be helpful.
um, just get this nice and close. I think this will help with scale. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like if I stand right next to it, this is how tall it is next to me, right? Like it's basically the same height as me.
And
Um,
it's sitting on what?
it's sitting on an IKEA side table, and this
Which
like
looks about
speaker
3 foot
module, I
high.
think. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's almost 6 feet high total. This
Yeah.
this is about 80 centimeters tall. Just the modules themselves is about 80 centimeters and 80 centimeters wide.
Pull your
This
mic
one's
closer up to your mouth again.
ooh yeah ooh let me try. You know what? I'll just talk over here. Basically, it's 80 centimeters high and 80 centimeters wide as far as where the modules are.
Okay. And then
Um,
show us a couple of are there Eurorack modules at all embedded in this rack?
There are, and if I pull this curtain aside and flip this switch, you'll see them come to life. You've got, I've got this thing called the Euro playset that Crucifix or Darkness, depending on what form, Crucifix or Darkness made, and all it
So
is
what's
essentially,
like pointed like the one that's over on the left, is that a math?
yeah, this is maths. This is
Okay,
maths
so
right
that's a
here.
math. So that gives us
Yeah.
a sense of scale. We know what a math looks like. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So these are about like 1.5 times the height, or
Yeah.
150% the height
Yeah.
of a mouse or a ramp or a morphogene.
So you got
Um,
almost like got 84 HP equivalent if you take um, 1/2 of one row. It looks like about 84 HP, like a maybe a little shorter than a root brack single, something like that. And then maybe you could have probably two side by side on one Cosmo, the equivalent of one Cosmo rack. Is that
well,
about
I can
right?
even
Or
tell you the
maybe
Euro playset itself is 64 HP wide, if I'm remembering correctly.
okay, so it's wider than that then.
So I've got a mouse in there, a rample, a morphogene, and a 10 centimeter or a 10 HP wide blank, just to fill the gap.
Yeah,
Mhm.
got
But it's in total, it's 40 centimeters wide, so I could fit two of those play sets per row of each of those.
it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if Darkness or Crucifix decides to do another run, I'm probably at least going to pick up one. And there's this person on Etsy that'll cut rails to exactly the size you need, which means all it means like all you need to do to put it together is take those same mounting screws and just screw them into the front of the rail like you would a module. Like it's very simple.
Yeah. We're talking about okay. Well, the only gripe I've got on that side of things on Eurorack is sliding nuts versus other formats. Like,
Yeah, I saw I didn't get the gist of what you were frustrated with, but were you frustrated with the sliding nuts or I forget what the other one's called. It's like little sections of nuts, right? Like the sliding
yeah.
nuts, I
So
think.
basically, Pittsburgh happens to, by standard, install sliding nuts rails for their cases in this
Are the
structure
sliding
line.
nuts rails the ones that are like, I don't know, 10 bolt holes, but it's one piece or something like
So,
that?
a couple of a couple of things about it. One is that they're not M3, they're M2.5 screws. So
Right,
that's
right. That's
one
yeah,
one difference right there.
yeah,
Then the second part is, yeah, they're just like these. You get the nut side of it on the other side, and you've got to like find the nuts to then screw it in. And so on the one hand, it provides crazy levels of flexibility. On the other hand, getting fucking the lineup, you've got to like have a magnet underneath, like
I never even thought
you
about that.
feel like, yeah, yeah, to align the nut behind like the hole in the plate. So you're fucking around with like just getting the damn thing into the rack, and like life's hard enough.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, band practice is all that. Yeah, I mean, I have the similar frustrations. Like you saw, I flipped a switch to turn on that playset, and that's because the Rample was having startup issues. It gets cranky with my power supply, so the only way to get it to go out of like fail-safe mode is to disconnect the Eurorack cable and plug it back in, which means over time, the sliding nuts, which I'm also using, sort of disappear. So I
Yeah,
just basically like my method was like, oh well, I guess since I can't get that one back easily until the next time I take it all the way apart, is I'll just put one near where all the jacks are that I use, so that at least that part's
yeah,
not pulling out. But
yeah,
I think if I was gonna do it again, I would take every single one of those 2.51 nuts and just like spread them out, because like I heard folks complaining like they can rattle or get noisy, but like I have not heard a single rattle because I don't move it that often. I don't
yeah.
know.
I don't think the rattle is really a fucking thing. I think people are making excuses for the fact that they're lazy and they
Okay,
don't want to fuck around with sliding nuts. I don't want to fuck around with sliding nuts.
maybe if your
I don't
case
want
just
my nuts
resonates
to
with
slide
like
around.
the
I mean,
E
like I'm
note,
old
I don't know.
fashioned that way.
Well, I'm still on the sliding nut side, but I'm not like passionate about it. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
Since I installed that switch, I haven't had to do it again. And obviously, when I did that, I made sure all the nuts were back in place. So I haven't had to touch anything since,
yeah,
which is good. But
yeah.
my gripe right now is wooden rails. Like I can't with wooden rails. You're sort of you get what you get. Like if I get a different module that the screw hole, like if that might be, I don't know, also 10 centimeters wide to replace a 10 centimeter wide module. If the holes horizontally are like 2 millimeters one direction or the other, it won't line up with the screw holes that are already there. It won't go in, and it'll actually threaten to snap the PCBs. So what do I do? Like, do I fill the holes in with glue and sawdust and then re-drill a hole? Like, I don't know. I haven't had that problem
I
yet,
mean,
but
look, man, life is hard enough. We don't need like this. What? I just fucking like it. No, let me just screw something in.
yeah. So whatever is screwed in there pretty much stays there and very rarely gets swapped out. But I'm hoping this LFO will get swapped out with a really gnarly filter when I
That
eventually
you're
receive a
making.
package from the UK.
That you're making.
Yeah, well, it's a Look Mom No Computer module called the GUR filter, which is sort of this crazy like. It's a really bizarre filter. It's not going to make filter sweeps that are um, the same kind of
Smooth
beautiful.
and creamy.
Yeah,
Not
it,
that.
it almost sounds alias. Like there's like it almost sounds stepped. It's not. It's not digital, but
Yeah,
it has sort of a stepped sweep to it. But it has some just really cool um, resonance and filter interplay. So I'm stoked about it.
nice.
So I think that LFO is gonna get swapped out. And I don't really use LFOs all that much, outside of for some vibrato or something like that.
Fucking talk about LFOs. I remember there's a random thought I'm just sharing that there was a 90 like I'm an old fuck, so I can remember a tune in 88 or 89. It could have been later, 1988, 1999, 1988, 1989, and it was by well, the track was called LFO,
I feel like I've
and
heard
it
this
was
track.
Yeah, it was like this vocal sample, like that sounded like speak and spell,
Hold on,
saying
let me see if I can pull
LFO,
this up while
right?
we're talking.
And I think the band was called Orbital. It could have been somebody else, but it was Manchester based, and it was just like hitting the scene. And it took me 20 years to figure out or to realize that LFO meant LFO. But only because I'd not been spending time on music. And then when I started to learning about music, it's like LFO.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
took me a
there's
while to close that loop.
that's still loading. I don't know why YouTube's been unhappy with me today. So we'll let that load. But that's funny. You mentioned that. Like, I feel like I also had similar revelations with songs like that. Um, what do you like? What do you do with LFOs, man? Like, I know there's like crazy cool things my LFOs have sample and hold. I can adjust the rate of sort of
Yeah,
baked in, and I can change the waveform, so I can make it like truly random or sample and hold going up and down in different waveforms and that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
I haven't yet debugged my my quantizer yet, so I can't use it to like I don't know generate.
I mean, I don't think like a sample and hold is an LFO. I think that it's helpfully attached as a form of something oscillating, but it doesn't feel like oscillation. Like for me, the
Well,
definition
no,
of
no. Sample and
oscillation,
hold is like a feature of it. It's a true LFO. Like if I turn the sample and hold knob all the way to the left, it's just a normal LFO, no stepping or anything. That
yeah,
like
yeah.
I can choose. I think like 16 waveforms or something ridiculous. Um, but like
So it's running through some sine, but in a very step way.
well, that's
For
what like. Let's
example,
say I have it on the sine waveform, and
yeah,
I turn the if I start turning the sample and hold, it'll start sampling and holding it. Like that wave,
yeah.
that LFO is still going, but the sample and hold's going at a probably a different rate to
Uh,
grab
well,
steady
that's a
voltages.
good
Yeah.
distinction, right? Like, so for me, that's still an LFO. But
Yeah.
like when an LFO then just starts doing random out, then that's not an LFO anymore. That's
Right.
just
Right.
random out. But it just like happens to be generated by unit coordinate at first. So it's like, oh, okay,
Right.
that's
So I
an
have
alpha.
some random out, and I do like the LFOs in that they're designed like they're it's a chip by Electric Druid that Sam made into a module. Like look on no computer again, and it's designed well. Like I can crank up the rate and multiply the rate fast enough where it gets to audio frequencies, so I can use it
Yeah,
like as a noise source or even as a crude
yeah,
voltage controlled oscillator.
yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, like, yeah, I was
But
just getting
I just
bogged
never
down in the
use them.
semantics for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's so that's modular, right? Like, there's so much to it that has to be pretty specific in order to understand like what's going on. Um, like I don't know. I don't use LFOs enough to appreciate them a ton. My most common use case is like vibrato, or I'll even do a slow sine wave, like really slow, just to slowly change the waveform over time. Usually with the cutoff or something, like not super audible, but that kind of thing. Or if I'm doing something more
Yeah.
dubsteppy, it'll definitely be
Well,
going a little faster to
well,
make the
LFOs are
yeah.
expensive, right? I mean, not, and I don't mean like money wise. I'm talking about just like, think about the optimization of a patch. How many possible LFOs might you have? And what are the areas you might apply that modulation?
Right.
And like you can totally go over LFO anything. Like if you like, you could completely go overboard and LFO the shit out of everything, and you can then LFO the LFOs.
Yeah, and that's
I mean,
something I
you could
like
just
about these. Yeah.
yeah, you can go like, but the question is like, what is the bang for the buck on an LFO and how it's applied? Like, because I'm still learning. For me, like this, on the one hand, even though it's like like uh, let's say loosely synced to the overall BPM and the rest of it, I could like apply an LFO to have some level of like modulation that is smooth, even like on echoes and all the rest of it. But then the other one is applying LFOs on envelopes, right? On a VCA that is like then making a very like sharp cutoff to give you a really like specific sound, like a squelchy acid or something
Right.
else, and the rest of it. And then, so like, you know, I mean, that's the beautiful thing. You can apply it to so much shit, and you've got to
Yeah,
be discerning on the other hand.
and that's the thing. Like when I started putting together this top case, I guess all the cases I think I way overthink before I put anything in because of the screw issue, right? Like it's not as easy to move things around. But this top case in particular, I've been designing in a way that, to me, like if we ever get to leave our houses again, I can just pick this one up and go and have most of what I need to get like two
That one
solid
case.
voices. Yeah, just this top section,
So
which is why I
what
want.
will that give you?
Right. Okay. I've got um, three voltage control oscillators that are very flexible in what I can do with them. I can easily get a lead and a sick bass out of those three. It's nice if I have a fourth oscillator down here for the bass if I want some really like distorted sounding just by detuning that second one a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got a filter right in the middle. That's pretty much, if I'm playing with something on a stream, that's probably what I'm messing with. I've got this triple splashback delay, which is essentially three delay modules in one, but they're all going into each other in a funky way.
Oh, nice.
It's wild. It almost comes off as like a wild sort of dirty reverb a lot of the time, or if I have really stabby sounds, it gets sort of almost just like I don't know what you call it, just like all these little things flying around your head.
Shimmer.
Yeah, like almost like shimmer. And then I've got one above each other are two envelopes, so ADSRs that can also be sort of an envelope if I want to. Then I've got my mixer, MIDI to CV, the RAP module, which is distortion, stutter, two buffered multiples, and two LFOs. And I think one of those LFOs is going to go in favor of a second filter. And then I think that's probably good enough. There's lots of other things I could do. I could load in four of those little modules, like those small modules. There's more than I think there's 7 different types. There's an LFO, an attack release, a envelope, a gate to trigger converter, which I'm not sure if I'll use just yet. Glide module, which I love, needs some glide, so that might replace something up there too. And I'm trying to think what else. Some attenuators, attenuverters, stuff like that.
So I'm gonna just keep talking about LFOs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see if I can just go LFO. Hold on. LFO was it? I think it was it orbital or state 908 orbital.
If it is,
it was it 808 state? Was it
that's the song
808
you're
state
thinking of?
LFO? 808
by LFO, right? Wait, no, it's
state.
Man, I'm seeing a bunch of those.
808 state LFO 1991. Hold on. I think that's it. So, 808. Can you hear this?
I cannot.
Okay, you can't hear that?
Hear you. No, but...
Okay, let me send you the link. Just
send me the link.
Out of shits and giggles. Send you the... For shits and giggles, will this work? Okay, I'll send you the link. It's a YouTube link.
Yep. Copy. I'm sure. Let's find out. This is ringing so many bells, but let's see what it sounds like. I'm going to switch camera in just a second. Let's try this. Capture. Oh, jeez.
If it doesn't work, let's not Let's not. We'll figure it out another time. But there we go. Yeah, I heard something a second.
Oh, you heard it? Let me switch
Yeah,
camera real quick so you can actually see the. Well, it's just an album cover. You don't need to see it. We'll just listen.
yeah.
Oh, there's a terrible curse that plagues.
What's that? Was that an ad that like shoved it into YouTube? Oh my God, that is so obnoxious. Way that I think about them, like it was back to the point. It's like the LFO was the sound design on the synth. Let's say, just like you got like that micro freak over there, or whatever. It's just like it's really part of like the relationship with like the envelope striking the key and the filter cut off and it being moved around a little bit.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
adds a lot of movement, or it can add a lot of movement.
yeah. So anyway,
Like,
that just struck me the other day. Just like, oh shit, I forgot about that song. And like, there's reasons for why these guys called it that.
yeah, I mean, they're on everything. I think everything I own has, for the most part, has something that could be considered an LFO. Like this obviously has both an LFO and an envelope generator that can cycle. There's an LFO going there. These go so low
Yeah.
they go below audio rates, so they're LFOs. I guess my drum machines don't have LFOs, but just about everything has one. So
Yeah.
they're essential. I also I forget. I sometimes will if I've got a particularly fat bass line that has some filter on it, like pretty simple bass line that's not going too fast, throwing an LFO over that gets some like really an unsynced LFO gets really interesting real quick.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and remember to do that tomorrow.
But
I'm
like
like right now, I've got a patch that like, when you get to that point, it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna rip the shit out of it. Like, like rip it back into its nothingness and then rebuild it all over again. Like, I'm there. I'm good. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. Like, I'm going into like creative destruction, Shiva mode.
I mean, I'm excited to get there. Right now, I'm doing that Andrew Huang class, and
Oh yeah,
it's consumed a significant amount of my music making time and energy, and in a really good way. I've learned a ton.
I'll
I
bet.
can't wait to not touch a computer for like a month after it. But uh, one thing, I guess I just don't, because of that, I don't have time to sort of like want to even pull the cables. I'm like, it's fine. I have basic
Yeah,
synths.
yeah,
I got
yeah. You
this
got to
thing
patch
on.
up.
Like I've got to make a track. I got to make 20 minutes of entertainment for February 6th. So I think I'm just gonna like. I
Is
guess
that
when I'm
part of the
making.
course design?
No, this is for Magpie Fest. Um,
Ah, okay, yeah.
yeah, I signed up and I got lucky enough to get a slot. I think I'm playing
Very nice.
before the Ben Jordan interview.
Oh yeah.
So that I think actually there might be some people watching. So I actually want to create a set, which means when I'm doing that, I'm writing like an actual track. I actually don't do a lot of sound design. Like I get close to what I want really quickly, and then I just focus on making a solid set of melody, bass line, drums, drops, things like that
Yeah.
to make the track. And then I go back and futz with the sound design and like what can I do that's fun? Like is there any place
All right.
All right, I
Let's
think
see.
we might be back. Let's see.
So
Can you hear me now? Testing.
I can hear you.
All right, we're back. It was just like a half a second of power outage too. I just saw the lights flicker.
Oh shit, man. That's what happens when you're living in beautiful parts of the world that are remote.
Well, that's the thing. This is very rare. It almost never happens. That's why I was surprised. Maybe I should
Hey,
get a
man.
UPC. I guess I'd need two. One for the
Starlink,
router and
wait for Starlink. Elon Musk, Starlink.
yeah,
He's putting a
yeah.
whole like network of internet connectivity around the
Mm.
world. Um, Starlink is coming to you, brother. I can tell you.
We're back. Can y'all hear us? Like, are we streaming? I'm seeing from OBS that I'm streaming, but I haven't checked the actual feed.
Yeah, well, Frederick just gave us a thumbs up a second ago or 2 minutes ago. You're saying you're back. I think they were good. I
Okay,
think they were
yeah.
good.
Well, let's just keep going.
So
All right, what was
I,
let's
I was just kind of thinking about wrapping up here and
yeah,
formally saying goodbye because I think we've been
yeah.
nearly going a good,
Hour and
awesome
15
hour and
minutes.
15, or let's say over an hour,
10.
which is
Yeah.
great.
Yep. That's great. Yeah, let's wrap it up. I don't have any good like exit music. All the music I've been making is like, get all fired up and dance your face off type stuff. But yeah.
Hey, well,
Oh,
I
I know
tell
what I
you
can do.
one thing I'll do then. Well, one suggestion. How about this? Is we didn't get around to talking a lot about Space Echo, but I did want to mention that I picked up one of those guys just a few days ago.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
had
Let's.
already this patch up and running, and what I didn't want to do is like fall into a trap of like, oh, let's like rework the patch to really get this thing going. I was like, no, 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 this patch is done. And what if I just kind of like subtly add a little bit of this new thing to the side of it, like just like as a side, as an experiment for me to bleed it in and not go nuts. Uh,
Right.
and so that's what you're looking at there. That is the Boss Space Echo, which is this model is about 12 something years old, which is um, Roland slash Boss's own reproduction of the old classical Space Echo. So the Space
Right.
Echo uh, is fucking like if you try to buy a new today, like that would cost you over a grand, maybe 2 grand or something crazy like that. Like the
Yeah.
original stuff,
Yeah.
it's
And
like
this is what it looks like.
expensive.
It's like this giant
The
case.
201, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is basically Boston or slash Roland reproduced their own version of the Space Echo, just in a more affordable form factor, but trying to really stay true to its original notes. And there's simply an echo. You'll hear it. And that echo is generated by the space echo. So I've got this on a really simple send return on that particular voice. And over the course of those 2.5, 3 minutes, is the space echo acting on just that voice alone. So that's what you'll hear is the echoes from that.
All right. Let's see. And I'm not doing it quite full volume, so we can still talk over it. I think hopefully be
Yeah.
audible.
Anyway, so dub has been like this area that I've been like spending time listening and understanding how they made that music and that style and the rest of it. And it's like, there's like a 40 or 50-year-old tradition of dub in its modern and old versions. And like echo and reverb combined is a really important component of that.
There you go. OBS. I think to be safe going forward, I'm going to have the loop back audio source on every scene. See, I had no idea you were using the space echo for this, but now that you've said it, you can't not hear it, right?
Yeah, and so like that's what I have to make sure that I'm doing is like a little sprinkle of it, and occasionally like on some kind of tracks really make it the front and forefront of what the hell is going on the audio load space and the rest of it. But like I want to get there like gradually. I want to respect this machine and not bludgeon it day one, just like slowly work my way into it.
No, I say just go full on day one. Just do whatever you can with it. Like that's what I tend to do is like, what are all the crazy things I could do with this module as quick as possible?
Yeah, no, totally. I'm all for that. But it's like when you like working it into a set, because this is what I had to do. Like what I chose to do. So I included it last minute as a set that I've been preparing for like something I was submitting. So like I got a thing that I can like add a little bit of movement or space or whatever to it. Like I couldn't make it that, and then offline I'm kind of going nuts.
And yeah, and actually this is bringing up a couple topics I want to talk about, probably not tonight, but one is like pedal design in terms of using it with like desktop synths, and two is something I'm very conscious of is trying not to sound too much like the last song. Like I don't mind sounding like 5 songs ago, that's fine, but like if I streamed a performance yesterday that had a lot of reverb, sparkly stuff, I'm probably not going to do that this time. I don't know, I don't think anybody notices, but it's something like it, I don't know, it feels it's fun for me to change things up. So yeah.
No, I understand. Totally.
Right, like if you use Space Echo every song, that's going to sound like you're using Space Echo every song, right? Like versus using it like 3 tracks from now, you could go just as heavy with Space Echo and it'd be fine.
Yeah. I mean, fuck it, man. Sometimes you can just call it a phase.
Yeah.
And then you just get over that phase, and then you move on. And it's like whoever happens to hang around with you as you dwell in that phase, hey, come along or fuck off. And then when I hit another phase and you enjoy it, come back. I think, man, I could imagine that would be totally a problem for somebody like Deadmau5. For me, like I don't give a fuck about any of that now. Like I'm just doing what I enjoy doing, and the more that I just do that, the more pleasurable it becomes for me. So
we can also talk about Deadmau5's masterclass at some point. I officially went through that and have opinions. They're not kind. I wasn't going through like a listen to all the famous music producers classes phase or anything like that. My partner got master class, and so we've just been like, I would say it's more entertainment.
I've watched it. I remember watching it soon after it came out. It was already part of master classes, so I watched it, and I found it helpful. Not all of it, but it was just fascinating just to even hear how he thinks about his artwork and his process and all the rest of it. And it is what it is. I personally really enjoyed it.
Well, I would say it was entertaining, awesome. Right? Like I learned some things here and there, but it felt more like these are like infotainment classes. It feels like a lot of the time. Like there are some guides to learn more, but you're not gonna like. There's never going to be like a learn Ableton in-depth class in master class. It's going to be like learn high-level ideas of how Tom Morello thinks about sound design and things like that are actually pretty good. And
I mean, it was almost like, for me, I was more fascinated about not the specifics of of the technical stuff that he was sharing, which was interesting and helpful. For me, it was like, oh my God, this guy just like, he's a space cadet
Yeah.
that has the ability to hyper focus and just go for it. And like for me, that was just like this, that's awesome, man. Like he just doesn't give a fuck, and that's what he does. And for him, it happens to work out. I find that so interesting. Just like nothing else. I find it very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, like, having spent the last week in the box and the computer, have mad respect for folks that do that. Like, it's not as satisfying to do sound design or jam in the box without hands-on controls. Like, I'm using like a little MIDI controller and a keyboard and mouse, right? Like, whereas I'd never seen him before, but the person who performed last night that had like, I don't know, I want to say like 12 Akai.
Oh yeah. What was his name? Gilbert Stun.
That was insane. Like, that looked like a lot of fun.
Gabriel
It looked like
Stun.
a ton of setup, but that's I was immediately blown away on many levels before a single note was played.
That was bonkers. Like I said, like I wrote, I think that the APC team, who makes APC?
Is that still Akai? Yeah.
That's Akai, right? And then Ableton must send him like the next APC Mini Pros and the next level, the next version of Ableton, and send it to him and ask him to stress test that shit. Can you imagine 8 of those things into Ableton doing a fine job of just like the synchronization and everything else that's going on there? It's like, throw it to him.
Yeah.
If Gabriel comes back and says, yeah, it's still working for me, it's like, okay, we've got on that front.
They've got to have some like serious horsepower on that computer. Like, I have a pretty decent computer, I'd like to think, and mine gets bogged down like 7 virtual instruments in or something. I guess it depends on the instrument, but like in the processing. But like, I just took one look at his grid and I was like, what? Do you have like a room of computer over there that we can't see? How where are all these connections? Do you have a USB hub that's the size of my setup? Like, how is this happening? I don't.
You imagine what his spaghetti must look like behind the desk.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't. but
it was
cool.
I
mean,
that was
all
a
of
cool
those
set,
are.
man.
I think all of those are just single. Like, they are powered by and communicating data over USB. So it's a matter of just like connecting them all, like one cable per unit. So it's not as bad as a lot of our synths where you have like the audio cable, the power cable, the MIDI cable, all that stuff. Like,
so it's
like
running
all of these
USB and audio through those single USB.
Yeah,
Well, they're just USB controllers.
I think it was
right,
just
so
USB controllers. Yeah, I don't think there's any audio. So
yeah, there is none. You're right.
So it's
so they're
pretty,
purely controllers. But
it probably
cool.
is tidier than our setups.
Yeah, he's I've seen him before, and I remember when he showed up again last night. I was like, oh, I remember this guy. And he goes from, man, it's like, this guy is like jazz of a certain type. It's really love it, off the wall.
Yeah, that dude's from another dimension. All right, that's a good note to go to bed. Like, I'm like
very
jamming out
much.
to this track.
I've enjoyed that very much, and getting to know you has actually been, frankly, the best part of all of this. It's really good to connect, man. You take
get
care
some
of
more
yourself.
people on
We should
next
do this
week.
again.
Yeah, like what? I'm trying to think. What's the? Like, I think I'm sending all of the audio that I'm sending out through OBS to you through Zoom. So I think for a new participant, all they really have to do is install Zoom, I think, right? Like,
I think
you're ready to host it if needed.
That's the easiest part in the world. because
So
of
we could
everything
get more
that's
folks
going
on.
on. So right now they just become another audio source within Zoom, and for them, Zoom is Zoom, and for you, you've already got the input from Zoom already done. So my hypothesis is like you would send that person the link, they click on it, and nothing changes at all.
All right. Well, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll try to send out some pings to a couple people. Like if you have folks you want to see on, just let me know, and we can make it happen. Like
All right.
anybody, electronic music, modular, whatever, it's cool.
Sounds good, man. Well,
Hope we get Forrestine on here soon too, because she seems to know like they know everything about all the modular communities, all the things.
totally,
so.
totally, and she can help clarify the whole
Right.
florist situation.
Look, hey, I know what it is now.
She can help clarify that.
Yeah. All right. That was the first episode ever of What the Heck
What the heck?
with
Nice one, man.
Barnett
Good
and
night.
Heckseven. Have a good. It's been fun.